welcome to 4 on 40, a little reunion show we're doing because it's been a while since we all turned 40. Suzanne, Michelle, Lenora, Henson, Champine, and we all, if you didn't know, back in the day, a couple years ago, we were all turning 40 kind of around the same time, and we decided to talk about it. And we did this series called 4 on 40. We did a show called 4 on 40 on sex and 4 on 40 on money. And we just talked about, I think, more what we thought our 40s was going to be like, because we weren't that far into our 40s at that point. And now that we've been in our 40s for a couple of years now, and we've seen like, oh, this is our 40s. I think what's happened for some of us, maybe all of us, I'm not sure, we'll have to find out during this discussion, is what we thought our 40s was going to be and what our 40s actually is. There's some discrepancies there. It's a little bit different than we anticipated. I myself thought my 40s would just be like a better version of my 30s, that I would be wiser, but everything else would basically be the same. And it has so not been that. So we're going to talk about that today. And we actually have a couple of questions from you, from the awesome women that are in our Facebook group. We have a 4 on 40 Facebook group. It's not super active. It's just something that you can pop in if you find a cool story on the internet that you don't really know where to put and you just want to share it with some like-minded women. If you want to join the 4 on 40 group, just message one of us here and we'll pop you in there, and we just share ideas and memes and ask questions. So 2 of you asked questions, and Champine is going to be our little question moderator here. So Dawn, what are the questions these women asked?
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay. So sorry I don't have a camera. I don't know what's going on, but my computer does not recognize my camera. So I'm just the disembodied voice for this forum. And thank you to everybody in the 4 on 40 Facebook group who asked questions. The first one, she actually asked a few different questions, and this comes from Jennifer Seitzer. And so what I think I'll do is just I'll ask the question and then we'll pass it off to each person in the group to answer from their own perspective. So Jennifer Seitzer asks, although I know it's never too late, how does one handle the constant fear of time is running out and that there are more years behind you than before you? Who would like to start? Go, Joe.
Of course. I was that kid in class that was like, oh, pick me, pick me, pick me. So it stands to reason that I would be that kid in my 40s. First of all, Jennifer, I have to say, we don't know that we have less years, ahead of us than we have already experienced. I myself fully intend to live to 120. It is just it started out kind of as a joke, and then it kind of became a personal challenge, and now my whole family is like, well, because you're going to live to 120, blah, 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 because I keep saying that. So I don't even know. The theme of this show is rocking the autumn years of your life. So according to that, I'm like, have I even reached the autumn years of my life? I don't know if you do the math. But assuming that I have, I don't think any of us knows how long we get on this planet. There are people that don't even make it to their first birthday, or there are people whose lives are cut short in the spring of their life. So I think that for any age, all you can do is just stay super present to what is in the moment. And I know you, Jennifer, so I know what's in the moment for you is you are a super foxy, young 40-something, and you have all these dreams and goals that you're making happen for yourself right now, and that's exciting. So anytime you step outside the now, like what's actually happening, what you actually see in the mirror right now, and you start projecting yourself into the future, that's going to create fear. And largely it's the fear of the unknown. You don't get to know what kind of woman you're going to be in your 60s or your 80s or your 100s. or coming up on 120 if you should be so blessed, because none of us get to know. So bring it back to the now. That's my tip. Lenora, do you have any advice?
Can you hear me now? As for me, I feel like I have accomplished or done a lot of things that I've wanted to do. So, and I'm not the kind of person that likes to waste time anyway. So I go for it, regardless of how old I am. Every day I try to do something that moves me forward, I guess. So yeah, I have accomplished my dreams, some of my dreams. So everything else right now is just a bonus. That's what I have to say. Go after it. Don't be afraid to start now. I mean, what are you waiting for? Suzanne?
So the thought that came to my mind was the speed of light. Light is really, really fast, super fast, meaning when you become more aware of your mortality, it seems to go even faster, right? The time, thought process, ideas, you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, time is running out, because you're having more awareness. You're having more consciousness about who you are as a woman, as a 40-something-year-old. And I think that's really beautiful, because you can use that light that is so prevalent right now, this awareness of your mortality, to get on it. Use that light, use that speed of light to inspire you. What are those things that you've been putting off? And just take one little step in that direction so that you can actualize that, so that you don't have the regrets. Because I think what happens for me is when I think, oh my gosh, time is moving so fast and I haven't gotten this done or that done, it usually is an opportunity for me to go, shine the light on, where am I procrastinating? Where am I not doing what I really want to do and doing the things that I don't want to do? So it just gives kind of more awareness. And especially now in this coming of the hormones shifting again and all that good, yummy stuff, it's going to put a lot of awareness on our life. So I don't know, I just kind of see this as an opportunity to use that speed of light and shine the awareness on those areas of my life that I either want to shift or change or do more of. That's all I got.
Suzanne, that was beautiful. This is Dawn, obviously. Gosh, I really like that. And the question, she says, how does one handle the constant fear of time is running out? This actually struck me about a week ago. So my personal struggle with time is I have a lot of things, a lot of obligations. I have a large family. I have 5 children. I have 3 grandchildren now. A new one came this summer. So yay, Danny's here. But yeah, so I feel like in my short lifespan, I have been dealing with the challenges of time and commitment for, in great concentration for a long time. But you mentioned, how do you handle the constant fear? And I guess fear is something that is always with you. It's always going to be there. And I think I like what Suzanne said about just bringing the awareness to it. And I also like what Joanna and Lenora talked about, being present and going for it. Because that fear is going to be there regardless, in some form or another. And if you can just understand that and accept that, it can also be used as a catalyst to go for it, to propel you towards those things that you really want to do. There are so many shiny things out there that we can get distracted by. And so, it all kind of gels together in the end, you know, looking at the fear and the obligations and the time commitment, or time constraints rather. So it boils down to that discernment. It boils down to acceptance. It boils down to working with what you've got and being resourceful and not letting all the shiny things distract you from what's really, truly important. And I don't know if that's, I guess that's my answer, but she also has a second part here that I didn't see because it was hidden down below. But she says, to add on to that question, how do you handle the constant fear of time is running out, especially when one is trying to give themselves a secure financial future, or when they've started too late? And my response to that is that it's never too late. It is never too late. Just start where you are. Start where you are. Take a little step each day, each and every day. You know, little things add up in the long run. Secure financial future, I can speak, you know, when I turned 40, it was like a starting point for me as far as my financial future went. And I remember speaking with Joanna and Lenora right after my 40th birthday or thereabouts, and I was like, I'm going to save $24,000 this year. And it was a lofty goal for me. It was a very, very lofty goal. Did I do it? No. But I nearly did. I almost did. And so does it matter if you know, I started from nothing. So does it matter if you make that goal? No, the point is, and the purpose is to take a step toward that goal each and every day. And anyway, okay, so I'm going to hand it off to Joanna.
I love that you said an actual number, Dawn, because for me, that's been a really frustrating part of learning about finances. Is people are very like, especially in the new age world, it's very like positive thinking and you can do it and all you have to do is this, but actually having numbers and having real experience, that the numbers that real women are really experiencing, for me, there's something very grounding about that. Like, okay, all right, great. How much money is that? That's a number I can wrap my head around. And I think that's true of all goals, that like you might have a goal that's this high and you only get this high in reaching it, but then you've made momentum and you can build on that. And it gives you a more realistic take on how long it takes to make $23,000 or however much. Was it 2,300 or 23,000? I don't even remember. Now that I'm saying thank you for that accurate number that I can't remember 30 seconds.
24, and I made 14. So
there you go, man. That's awesome. For myself, I call myself a late bloomer, and I really started recognizing that in my mid-30s. And then I publicly started talking about it when I turned 40. And I was a late bloomer in a very specific way, financially. Financially, and also with adulting, with like doing your taxes or doing all the paperwork I have to do for the different government agencies my son's involved with, and meeting the responsibilities of life as an adult, and just getting into the game of finance. I was very, very developed creatively. I'd had a really fulfilling creative career up until that point because that's where I put all of my energy. That's all I cared about, and I got to do amazing things. It was amazing, but I was one of those people that was like, I just care about being an artist and being creative. I don't care about money. And then as you start reaching the autumn years of your life, you're like, oh, that money stuff. I think that might be important. And around the time that we did 4 on 40 on money, I was talking about Barbara Stanny's book, Prince Charming Isn't Coming. I fully stand behind that book. If you've never read a finance book, it's a wake-up call. It's going to slap you around a little bit and get you busy, which I think is awesome for people of all ages, but especially women that are starting late to the game. and it can give you better advice than I can. And it's really always better to start saving for retirement, for example, when you're 18 years old, but most 18-year-olds don't do that. And what you have at your age is savvy. You have wisdom, you have smarts. So you know what to sacrifice in your life to save money, and you can make better financial decisions. And all you can do is the best you can do with what you have now and where you're at now. And there's no sense in lamenting the past, just like I was saying, there's no sense in worrying about the future, because there's nothing that you can do to like control those things except for bringing yourself back into the moment. So kind of the same advice for both questions, Jennifer. Suzanne, what do you think about this?
So I have, the way that I live my life is I see health and wealth as like sisters. They hold hands. And a lot of us have been trained that you should focus on your wealth, accruing wealth. So I have a specific example. I had bought a house way back in the day, 18 years ago, and I sold it. And, you know, I only had a couple more years on the mortgage, so it was almost paid off. So here I have a chunk of money in the bank, but does that make me more secure? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It does not make me more secure. What makes me secure is that my heart is beating for what I really want in life, relationships, my passions. That feels like to me more of a security, because in that feeling, and this is not pie in the sky, like, oh my God, she's going off here. No, seriously. Like, I know rich people who have shitty health, and all their monies go towards their doctors and, you know, their caretakers or whatever. And, you know, they're older, of course, but well, not of course, but they're older. And so they have, you know, people taking care of them, but that's how they're spending their money now. I don't know how else to say it, but if we can focus on our health and well-being and then take those small steps in putting money away, we won't be so overwhelmed, because at least with our health, we can control, well, for the most part, our everyday rituals, our everyday practices, those we can control. But we can't control our 401k. We can't control, you know what I mean? So I feel really strongly that the focus, if we could focus more on health and well-being, in that healthy mindset, then we'll go, okay, you know what? I don't want to spend that money on this stupid junk food or whatever it is, this stupid activity that I've been doing that doesn't make me feel healthy. I'm going to put that in a savings account instead. So I feel like they're hand in hand. I don't think they're exclusive. That's my take.
I like that take on it, Suzanne. And I don't have a whole lot more to add other than start where you are. I love that. Start where you are. It's never too late. That's all I have. Back to you, Dawn.
Actually, can I interrupt really quick? I wanted to add something too to the money and health thing. People say that health is the first wealth, and it is, but also when you get to a certain age, you can't afford the kind of health care that you need without money. And I would say that might apply to any age. When you consider what I do, I consider the food I eat to be my health care and the supplements I take. And it's such a joy to have like the whole smorgasbord of exercise classes that you can take to keep it interesting and fun. And that's something that money can pay for. And I know from teaching the Sad to Sexy program that a lot of people struggle because buying really quality, organic, all natural food is more expensive than buying cheap fast food or buying frozen, you know, something out of the frozen food section of your grocery store. So I do think that they're sisters and they go hand in hand, but that it's kind of the chicken or the egg thing. Like, where does it start? You have to start on both. And I know Jennifer personally is really, really concerned with her health and very developed spiritually. She's been on a sober journey for many years. So I think she relates to me a little bit, and probably some other of us here who have we've reached a kind of maturity creatively, spiritually, but now we're looking at our finances and realizing I'm just at the beginning, because a lot of us didn't buy a house 18 years ago and then have that nice chunk of money. We just had different focuses. So I just wanted to acknowledge the hippies here who may be like, but I am healthy. Because that was the thought that I was having.
Okay.
Go
ahead. I'll mute.
It's such a big one. I'm not married. I don't have kids. I was married, and I depended on my husband for the bigger chunk of the finances. And I bought this house when I was in college. I actually was renting this house, and I had basically one of those like intuitions of like, I think one day, And so at that time, I just did it, and I wasn't even thinking. I seriously wasn't thinking. I'm not a real thinker when it comes to my finances. But like I said, what I wanted to really impress is that even if you have a bunch of money in the bank, it doesn't give you security. It just doesn't, unless that's what that's one of your core values. And one of my core values is, let's see, how do I say it? Like the feeling that I get when I close my eyes, and if everything burned to the ground, I'd still be okay. That feeling is more important than the money in the bank. So that's really what I wanted to impress upon Jennifer. And I feel like she already knows this. She's just struggling with that part of her that's got like, but I don't know. So I feel like, Jennifer, I get it. I totally get it. And at the same time, where is it in our hearts that is healthy, that's wealthy, and can we go there? And can we go there a little bit more during the day instead of going to the worry? And I know that sounds, again, it's so hard, but can we make ourselves go to that place of I am healthy, I am wealthy on so many levels. And you know what? With that understanding about myself, I'm just going to put $1 away to get today. And then tomorrow I might put 2 or so on. And you know what I'm saying? That's what I just wanted to share about that. So thank you.
Those were all really thoughtful responses. And I, as I was listening to each one of you talk about that, I remembered a couple of books that really helped me in my financial journey. 3 books that I recommend to almost everybody now. And those are Your Money or Your Life by Joe Dominguez, and I just totally went blank. I cannot remember her name. My apologies. The book title is Your Money or Your Life, and I read that in my early 20s, and I was really struck by the statement there. I mean, because it really is. It comes down to your money or your life, and it equates your life force energy with your ability or your drive to make money. And so it has you thinking in a completely different way about the choices that you make in everyday life. Are you willing to, for instance, have and this would probably apply more to men than it might women, but have a motorcycle in your garage that you only take out on the weekends? Or are you willing to buy a bicycle and save that money and put it, it's really all about looking at your personal values and in alignment with how you expend your life force energy, and then tying that back into your ability to create wealth for yourself. So that would be the first book that I highly recommend. I recommend it to a lot of people. The next one is A Money Mystique. And that book is written specifically for women, especially women. And it was written in the 1990s, but it was specifically for women who were transitioning into new life stages, whether from a divorce and not relying on a partner any longer and having to do this all by themselves, or just entering into the autumn of their lives and realizing, oh crap, what do I do now? So that one was a really good one. And finally, Money, a Love Story by, what's her name? Northrop? Gosh, why am I losing? I'm like losing these key pieces. Anyway, Money, a Love Story. Awesome book, because what I really like about that one is she has you looking at your story, your personal money story, and where did it begin? How did you cultivate the beliefs around money, the beliefs that you have? How did you inherit those? Did you come by those through experience? So I really like that approach as well, because when you sit down with your story, no matter what topic you're dealing with, whether that's money or addiction or relationships or whatever, what is your story? You can sift through the information there, and you can start to see these patterns. And when you recognize these patterns, you suddenly start to see, oh my gosh, I may have been a little bit unconscious in that, I may have been operating from habit there and not really fully understanding what I'm doing. You have the power then to write a new story, basically. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there as 3 books that I highly recommend when it comes to finances for anyone, not just women, but for anyone. Should I ask the next question? Yes? Okay. Okay, Erica, and I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name. Erica Krall or Kraya. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Sorry for butchering that. Her question is, what do we do with metabolism after 40? It's so much slower. I've noticed that. She has more questions, but I'll hand the microphone over to, let's go with Lenora.
Well, this was a good question, and I've definitely been noticing it and dealing with it. I've gained weight. I've always been very small my entire life, and I think I've gained 30 pounds in the last year, and so I'm not okay with it at all. But I think you just have to accept that you are not running, your body's not going to run the same way. And once you can accept it, then you have to learn different ways. You have to, different eating patterns, and you can't gorge on chips and sweets all the time. And you have to exercise. You don't have to, and a friend put it a really good way, that how you start to behave physically with your body and with what you eat, it really matters now, because it's just going to go downhill from here. It's just going to get worse. So it really matters. What you do in your 40s, as far as your health is concerned, is going to set the tone for your vitality for the rest of your life. Because this is where everything starts shifting and changing. And my doctor even told me that. She's like, you're never going to get back to 100 pounds again. And I'm like, what? No, this can't be happening to me. But it is. And so acceptance is the first thing. And then adjusting to it. That's what I've been experiencing. I'm going to pass this on to Joe.
I could talk about this all day. I love this subject. First of all, I will say for sure your metabolism starts to slow down in your 30s and you start to notice it in your 40s. And there are things you can do to keep it moving at the rate that you're used to and that you like, but it takes more of an effort. The older you get, you kind of have to make the choice of like, am I going to make a greater effort with my diet and with my exercise, or am I going to be very goddessy about it and embrace that this is what happens at this age and I'm just going to honor where my body is and keep it healthy? And I see both. I see women kind of, this seems to be a choice point for a lot of women about that, where I see women that are like, oh, I love my more voluptuous figure and this is what it is. I'm going to let my hair grow out gray. And then I see other women that get very, very serious about their fitness and their fashion and enjoying like all of that. But then the effort that they put into it, I can see both sides, where some people would look at a woman that's making the effort and think like, I don't have time for that shit, or I'm too old for that shit, or I don't need to be that anymore. I already was that. And then again, you know, someone who's making the effort going like, I'm not ever going to let myself go, which I actually think is not an accurate assessment of somebody who has decided to just embrace the changes of middle age. I don't think it's letting yourself go. I think letting yourself go is eating crappy food and not properly grooming yourself and not making the effort to dress nice. And I know plenty of women that are not, you know, stick figures that dress gorgeously and wear beautiful makeup and they can just rock their life at any age and any size. I have a lot of older women role models because I am one of the women that wants to make an effort, and that matters to me. So I've done a lot of studying and research on our hormones. And that's something I wanted to mention too. I'm going to be posting a blog post shortly after this, recommending some books. And a lot of those books are about managing your hormones, because a lot of that weight gain, if that's what you're experiencing, can be totally related to your hormones not being in balance. And I'm not a fan of hormone replacement therapy because it's dangerous, in my opinion, and many people's opinions. Your average doctor will say it's not dangerous and happily prescribe hormone replacement therapy to you, but I prefer a more natural approach. So I would recommend looking into a doctor that can help you work with bio-identical hormones, and you will be shocked at what a difference that can make in your sexuality, your sexual function, your libido, as well as your weight and your energy levels throughout the day. So that's me. Suzanne, what do you have to say?
Hormones. Oh my God. Oh my God. Hormones. Hormones bring out everything. I know for myself, when I am hormonal, it is usually when the rest of, okay, so let's talk about like around my period. Okay. When I'm hormonal, which is around my period, anything that's bugging me is going to come out. So anything that I have not addressed is going to come out, and it's going to come out like internally. I might be by myself and be like, God, why did I not do that thing that I was supposed to do? Because, you know, I did this and this and this instead. So hormones are such, again, one of those light shiners that show in our life what we want to, I'm not going to say this right. Again, our bodies show us where we're not engaging in our life, or where we're hiding from our life, and our hormones are going to be so beautifully expressed that we're going to not. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so tongue-tied. What I really want to say is your freaking hormones are running your life because you're not really expressing yourself. So your hormones, when they get all jacked up, they're holding the expression of who you are and what you are. And so use that crazy weight gain and go, what part of me needs to shed some more? Because there's more shedding to do. And get with a naturopath. Get with somebody who's really good, who's going to help you. Not, I'm sorry, but not a traditional doctor. Please don't go there. And if you need to go there, but get a complementary, somebody who can counterbalance all of the data that they're going to give you, because they're going to scare the shit out of you. They're going to tell you, they're going to throw drugs at you. And I get it, but get another doctor that's going to complement, what they're saying and maybe help you out, because maybe the drugs are useful. You get what I'm saying, right? But hormones, I know for myself, if I'm not addressing things in my life, it's definitely going to come out in my hormones, period.
No pun intended there, right? I have a lot to say about this question also. Good points. Really, really good point there, Suzanne, about your hormones being a light shiner. And one of the reasons why I will stand by you in that statement is because last year I was diagnosed with adrenal fatigue, and it was a definite light shiner experience for me. I know I talk about it all the time, and people are probably tired of me talking about it, but it was a frightening experience. It was really, really frightening. And I didn't realize how frightening it was. But at first I was talking to my traditional doctor, who wanted to put me on hormone therapy, HRT. And I just intuitively, I just knew that wasn't for me. So I found a naturopath eventually, finally. And I also worked with a really good acupressurist, Chinese herbalist here in town. And gosh, just a whole different course of healing for that. And I finally feel like I'm on the other side of the hump, where I'm starting to get better again. So I do think that you can, with commitment, with effort, you can heal that. You can heal that. It's not doom. It's not the end. It's, but there is a certain amount of acceptance that your body is not the same as it was in its 20s. And when I was in my 20s, I wrecked my body. I put it through shreds, the shredder. But I wanted to mention quickly this quote from Clarissa Pinkola Estes. She has a whole section of this topic in her book, Women Who Run with the Wolves, which is where this comes from. She says, to confine the beauty and value of the body to anything less than its magnificence is to force the body to live without its rightful spirit, its rightful form, its right to exaltation. So I think a lot of it comes down to looking at our bodies as the miraculous vehicles that they are, that carry the spirit in this experience that we're having here on this planet Earth, right here, right now. It's pretty amazing when you can flip around from the fear and the fright of, oh my gosh, my body is falling apart, to just flipping the switch to seeing how miraculous your body has actually been, and how beautiful it is, and what it does for you in the everyday sense. I've struggled with body image issues for a long, long time. And I think that it's only been really in my 40s that I've really gotten this sense of confidence about my body and what it has done. I've birthed 5 babies, you guys. And the weight gain and the weight loss and just watching it stretch and grow and shrink and just all of these things over the years. And it's just been pretty miraculous. And so like last week I woke up and this was on my mind. All this body image stuff was on my mind. And I was thinking about how I've come so far in this journey, and we all have come so far in this journey, and just looking at the chances that we even incarnated into this experience to begin with is pretty freaking miraculous. And I'm not going to let those little insignificant
piddly little distractions of, oh, my body, my pants don't fit right, or I need this certain kind of whatever to look more beautiful, or Botox or whatever. No, 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 no. I refuse to do that anymore, because I want to look at the fact that this is a miraculous experience, and our bodies are fucking beautiful. Period. So that's what I have to say.
Can I chime in here? Do you guys mind? I think what's really important is whatever choice you make for yourself in terms of aging physically and how you want to do that, that you really have to go out and find role models. Start a Pinterest board, you know, of women that are like maybe your age, but 5, 10, 20 years older than you that are doing it the way that you want to do it. So you have a new beauty standard, because the really commercial beauty industry and fashion industry is still very much a youth culture. And it's fascinating because they are selling women of our age and older. We're now able to invest in clothes and really good makeup and really good beauty products, but they're using 18-year-olds to sell them to us, whereas most 18-year-olds cannot afford those things. So it's a very weird disconnect that the internet is actually helping to heal. And we have more of a democracy going on that really started with the internet, with bloggers. So we have so-called plus size bloggers. We have women of color, Black women, Asian women, and Mexican women, and everything in between women. And we have women who weren't born as women. We have like the whole gamut of choices that way. And we also have a lot of older women who are rocking it out. I love the blog Advanced Style, because it's about women on the streets of New York who are much older than us. They're crones. And it's just so fun. I just get such a kick out of looking at them and being like, yeah, I'm totally going to be like that. Tao Porcelain is a yoga instructor and a ballroom dancer who has found fame as an inspiration on the internet. And what I love is now these people who have taken it in their own hands and who have decided, hey, dude, I have amazing style. I don't care if I am 190 pounds and I'm supposed to be 120 pounds. I have amazing style. I'm gorgeous. I'm going to start my own blog. And then all these other women are like, you are gorgeous. You are stylish. And that woman, by declaring that for herself, rises to power. And now you're starting to see the commercial fashion and beauty industries embracing these new women. And right now, the collections, Fashion Week, which is really New York, Milan, Paris, what am I leaving out? New York, oh, and London, each has a week. So it's really like a month long. Look at the runways and you're gonna see women of different sizes walking down, women of different colors, women of different heights and shapes and ages. And not a lot, most of them are gonna be tall, skinny teenagers, but they're sprinkled throughout. So this change is happening, and you get to be a part of that change if you choose to be, but at the very least, you get to make your own role models that way. And as a person who watches pop culture and loves fashion, this is a huge revelation, and I think we're super blessed to live in this time.
I had a I had a funny thing. So I watched Lenora's haircut video. I don't know if anyone ever saw that, but that's on this group here. It was so great. It was so great. She was talking about how cutting your hair and basically shedding some of those years from our lives and how symbolic it was. And I really enjoyed it so much. And it made me look at myself and go, why the hell do I have all this long hair? You know, I've gone shorter, I've grown out my hair, and I realized how much identity I had attached to my hair. And so much that I did an experiment and I cut my hair. And what did I do after? At first, I thought, oh, I love it. I love it. The next day it settled in and I actually thought I looked ugly. And like, I thought, oh my God, where did that come from? Like, I haven't thought I was ugly in a long time, you know? Like, I mean, I've had my bouts of feeling ugly, but there was this part of me that it was almost like this, I can't get it back. I can't glue all that hair back on, right? And so I feel like Lenora, when you had said about the 30 pounds, it's like, you know what that felt like. You knew what that felt like to be 30 pounds less. And it kind of felt good, right? Like it felt good. And then when you have the 30 extra pounds, it doesn't feel as good. So yes, like rocking that extra 30 pounds, but at the same time going, wait a minute, like, do I want that long hair back? Do I want to shed that 30 pounds? Like, really, what is it? So we need to start asking ourselves, what do we identify ourselves with? What are we identifying ourselves with? I can't identify with my 20-year-old self. I just can't. She's funny, but that was 24 years ago. So now it's like, okay, really, these questions that we need to start asking ourselves is, yes, who do we want to identify with? Do I want to identify with Vogue magazine or the rockin' 60-something, you know, like looking towards, you know, these awesome, sorry, the yard people are coming. They are awesome, doing awesome things right now, but it's going to get really loud. I don't know their names, so they're the yard people.
Yard people. It sounds like the children from the corner coming. The yard people.
I need to know their names so I can say, oh, anyway. But you get my point, right? Like, identification is so huge right now. And we're trying to identify, like, who the hell are we? Who have we become? You know, so we're asking these questions in our 40s. We're re-identifying ourselves. We can't identify ourselves with that teenager. We can, but you know what I'm saying, right? So there you have it. The identification. That's huge, huge, huge.
I have to say, like, you literally said the yard people right off of saying how you were funny in your 20s. So it's like, and yet I think you're still funny, Suzanne. It's like maybe some of these things just never go away. The parts of our character, you know, like who we really are inside. Hopefully, the older we get, the better we get. And the more those qualities that are so amazing, our humor, our intelligence, our wisdom, all those little personal quirks, they start to come out more as we start to like be like, oh no, my skin is not as tight and springy as it used to be. But damn, I'm funny. I almost said the F word, but I held back.
That's a really good point. I love that about retaining the qualities of your character as you get older, and then just having a more concentrated version of you. And that's really, in essence, that's really what autumn is all about, isn't it? I mean, we're in the autumn of our life when the colors start to turn again and they get rich and, you know, just beautiful bursts of colors. And this, I love that metaphor, how we don't necessarily have to identify with the 20-year-old we once were, but those characteristics that make us who we are, and really focusing on those and allowing them to concentrate into this rich, delicious, beautiful, gorgeous thing that we are.
I love that we're talking about rocking the autumn years of your life. And I love that analogy too, Dawn, because springtime, we honor the flowers, and it's all about fertility and sex and procreation and sort of that blissful ignorance of like, I'm going to live forever. And, but Albert Camus, I put this in the blog post. I think this is in the autumn equinox module too, but he has that awesome quote about, I feel like, Dawn, you just shared this too. You can correct me if I'm saying it wrong, but autumn is a second spring where every leaf is a flower.
Yes.
And what I love about that is in the springtime, when you look at a leaf, it's like so new, it's so delicate, and it's beautiful in its own way. It's probably really pliable and a lighter shade of green. And then by the time you get to fall, it's before the leaf gets super duper crispy and dry and dead and falls off to, you know, regenerate in the life cycle again to become part of the soil. And it's this like amazing explosion of color. And it's like the leaf reaches its full potential, like all its color comes to the surface for like one last hoorah. And I think that that's what the autumn of our lives are about. It's like, whoa, we're like coming into our full colorfulness. And I love to see these crones that are like, dude, my last hoorah is gonna last all the way to the grave. Sorry to tell you, but I'm gonna wear fake eyelashes and purple hair and like all these crazy clothes, and I'm gonna take yoga and I'm gonna jump out of an airplane. So there. Anybody want to speak up on this subject? Or you can change the subject. God knows I can run off at the mouth forever. I'm trying not to run everybody over here because I can talk and talk and talk.
Well, we don't have any more questions. I think we've answered them all because they were all kind of on theme in the same way. Erica did mention, curious about the goddess path and feminist perspective about changing bodies. And I think that we kind of really addressed that in our own ways, unless anybody has anything else to add about that. I know about the goddess path from and feminist perspective, something that I could contribute about that from my own perspective is that I think it ties back to what we were talking about earlier about health and wealth and just seeing the connections between all of these things. It's a different paradigm. It's a different way of thinking and viewing the world. Right now, for instance, we have, I was going to get into no dapple, but that's probably too deep. The way we treat our bodies is probably the way that we feel about the sacred feminine is basically what I want to say. And so like we can see those connections in everything that we do about how we treat the earth, how we treat our finances, how we treat, again, our own bodies, our relationships, everything. And so tying that into the goddess path and the feminist perspective, I think that we've all kind of made our statements here, but I do believe that it is a different way of looking at things, whereas the other paradigm is to have all of these external sources telling you how you should be or how you should look or what you should eat or whatever magical marketing is happening over here, you know, as opposed to a real centered, how do I want to feel about this? How do I want to feel about my looks? How do I want to feel about my finances? How do I want to feel about the way my relationships are? I kind of see that as a more goddess-oriented path. So I don't know if I'm answering the question in the right way. I don't know. It's kind of hard without Erica being here, but I just wanted to throw that out as a perspective. It's more of an inner kind of inner perspective on how we treat ourselves and the world around us and how we relate to it, and just seeing the interconnectedness of everything. And I think that when you can stand still in that center, you start to see all of the interconnectedness, that it brings a sense of peace and calm. And things don't have to be so chaotic or frightening. I don't want to say not so chaotic because that's a totally different thing, but just calm. Calm. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling. So I don't know. Does anybody have anything they want to add regarding the feminist perspective and the goddess path and changing bodies and making peace with their changing bodies?
Me? Does that surprise you? I think something that came up when we were talking about money, Suzanne, that's kind of coming up for me again with this is that, oh, it looks like we lost Lenora. Maybe she'll rejoin us. I'm I'm going to invite her. Excuse me, everybody, while I re-invite Lenora so she can come back on if she wants to. Is I think, and this ties into female friendship, which is something I would love to explore as well here, that I think is a huge part of rocking the autumn years of your life, is having an amazing group of friends. And Dawn, you and I have spoken about this on the phone before, is like you become so specific in who you are when you reach your 40s that if you are a late bloomer to making good girlfriends, for example, or you find yourself working from home and you're not in an office environment, or you're not going to school anymore, it's more challenging to make friends, not only because you're not in a huge social situation, but because you've become so specifically yourself. And the way that that relates to me about the money is like, we have completely different life experiences by the time we've reached this point in our lives. Like our paths are going to be really, really different. And we have to respect the differences and the wisdom in each path. In a previous episode, we had talked about the choice to be a mother or the choice to not be a mother. And there's different wisdoms in both of those paths. And we have to learn how to listen to each other and honor each other and respect the wisdom that other women have, because we don't have that. We chose a different path, and that comes with a whole different set of lessons and acquired wisdom along the way. And the same for me is about being a feminist and how you treat your body, because I know a lot of feminists they're very much about like being a feminist is about, you know, being big and beautiful. And then another woman is like, no, it's about being super sporty and super healthy and honoring your vessel by, you know, eating the best foods and engaging in fitness. And we just have to, because hopefully at this age we've reached a point of spiritual maturity, we have to recognize and honor the goddess in every woman and the wisdom that they have acquired to that point, and not judge it against our own, if that makes sense.
Makes total sense.
Yeah, that's huge. And this is the perfect time in this season of autumn to be able to see all the different colors changing and going, how am I changing? How am I part of that process? And maybe I need to shed some of those old beliefs, man, that just do not serve me. And truly, it sounds so cliche these days about, oh, if it doesn't serve you, let it go. No, seriously, if it doesn't, if you're not serving it and it's not serving you, let it go. Like the tight skin is Gandhi. It's Gandhi. The tight skin is gone. No, it's like, you know what? I have become so soft in my 40s. I have become more feminine than I ever thought possible. I love, and I do kind of have a hard body and I'm kind of voluptuous, but I'm getting softer too on the inside, which is showing up on the outside, and it's beautiful. And yeah, sometimes it's uncomfortable, but I'm seeing the bennies. I'm seeing the bennies. Real men love it, by the way. They don't want a little tiny 12-year-old, you know, that's gross. So they want a real woman. So I'm embracing it. That's all I have to say.
That brings to mind, like, the word discernment has been everything since my 40s started, and even before, but discerning between a good romantic match, you know, like, what kind of man is this? You know, what do I think a real man is? And for sure, it needs to be a match to who you are. But also, you were talking about letting things fall away, and that's something I've been experiencing a lot. This year, being 42, has really been a year of examining my friendships and what I want from my friendships, and coming to terms with the fact that I'm a very intense friend. I'm just gonna like love the crap out of you. I'm just gonna be like, hey, what are you doing? You know, I just made eggs. And I'm gonna be all up in your business because I enjoy that kind of interaction. And I've realized that's not for everybody. But if it's not for you, you're never going to get to that layer of my heart. We're never going to be besties. We might be like friendly acquaintances, or we might be friends that like see each other every once in a while. But I'm really interested in making like those family connections with potential friends, like the people that are going to show up at your bedside if you get in a horrible accident and lose your head and have to have it surgically put back on. Someone's going to bring your favorite magazines and be like, I'm here, dude. I had so much to do and I dropped it all to be with you right now. And that's what I appreciate. And I fully recognize other friends in my life that I've kind of just emotionally detached from. They want a completely different kind of friendship because that's what they need in their life. So that's been a huge revelation, and part of my spiritually maturing process has been like, oh, we want different kinds of friendship, and friendship with women really matters to me right now.
That, I think that is also right on. It is a different kind of relationship at this stage in the game for me as well. I remember, again, having certain relationships in my 20s and 30s, and you know, as we grow and get older, we tend to lose touch with certain people, or go in and out with different relationships over the years. But sometimes there are those ones that, you know, you just remain connected no matter what. And then there are those ones that are like, you start to look at and you go, I wonder what I was thinking there, you know, and you realize that you were probably overextending yourself, or you just weren't getting the same in exchange for what you feel you were either offering or expecting. And I've had a similar realization with that as well, especially over the last couple of years. You know, it's as and I think it has a lot to do with being in my 40s, and that wisdom that you pick up, that wisdom that you gain through actually experiencing the things that you experience. I mean, there's knowledge, but then there's wisdom, which you can only gain through that experience. And again, it all comes back to number one, being okay with wanting what you want in a relationship, and that mutual exchange. That mutual exchange has to be there as well. And it's okay if it's not. I can have a healthy relationship with you from afar, if that makes any sense. But yeah, it's just that whole awakening to that level of friendship has been a big one for me too over this past year. So
yeah. It makes me think of Jennifer's first question about time running out too. I don't know if it's running out, but I certainly feel way more present to time and the limited time that we have here, just as humans. Even if you live 200 years, I mean, it's still a limited amount of time. Nobody's going to make it out of here alive. And as you start coming into the autumn years of your life, I think you start prioritizing and discerning and being like, I don't have time to just like, for these sort of like, whatever kind of friendships don't float your boat. They're fine. You like the people, you may even love them, but it's like, I only have so many hours in the day, and they're precious. Fall is here. Look around you, you know, like, who am I going to spend my time with?
That's huge. When I was a little girl, I used to be just enamored with wise old souls. I mean, I would just go and pick their brains. Like, well, how did you get that old? You know, I'd ask them just simple questions like, how did you get so old? You know, and as an innocent girl, you know, of course they'd giggle probably at first and be like, oh, that's funny. And because they were probably only 40. And, but at that time, you know, I was like, how did you get so old? And, you know, they were so cute. They would always come up with something really wise. They'd say something like, well, you know, as you get older, you don't worry about impressing people as much. You don't worry about trying to please everybody, you know? And I was like, what? you don't want to please everybody? Like what? Like that doesn't make sense to me, right? Like why wouldn't you want to make people happy? I remember thinking that, like, why wouldn't you want people to be happy? But I wasn't getting it, right? What they were saying was it's not about making people happy anymore. It's about where is it that it's lighting you up? Are you hanging out with this person because you're lit up? Not because, you know, you just want to get approval from this person. So what I learned from a young girl asking these questions to, you know, these older people, I still realize that it all comes down to, as you gain that wisdom, you start looking at your life. And Joanna, like the discernment is huge. It's not about judgment. It's like, that doesn't light me up anymore. That lights me up. That doesn't light me up. And so it's not like, oh my gosh, I'm going to focus all my attention and say they're bad. No, it's just, that doesn't light me up anymore. Move on, you know, because time does seem to be, when you've got your limited day, you know, you've got your responsibilities, your kids, your animals, your home, your food, you know, all that stuff that you take care of. You only have a certain amount of time to hang out with people that you enjoy or doing things that you enjoy. That's huge. People, your activities, it all goes hand in hand.
Or even the time to think about it and judge it. Like, I don't even have the headspace to to weigh the pros and cons. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no. End of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, my mom and my Aunt Bonnie and my mom's best friend, who was very much a part of my life growing up, they all like just took this epic vacation together, and they went like zip lining. They're all in their 60s, and they're just about 20 years older than us. So beginning 60s to mid 60s. And I thought all three of these women are women who've gotten better with age, and what they've gotten is younger with age. They've gotten like more joyful and more silly and more playful and more grateful for their time. They've gotten nicer to each other. And I was like, yeah, dude, and I did not look up to my mom for a long, 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 long time. I was like, I will be nothing like that. And now I'm at a point where I'm looking at her and going, wow, you're a person who got better as you got older. And I totally could see myself being like that. So always too, I'm looking to the generations before us to decide like who I'm turning into, because I realize that's a decision we get to make consciously if we want to. Muting.
Should we take this baby home? Is it time to take this baby home?
I think so.
No, I have questions.
You have questions?
Yeah, let's at least share our one tip for rocking the autumn years of your life. I have a blog post that I'm posting that has a bunch of journal prompts for rocking the autumn years of your life, some book references, and the old episodes of 4 on 40. So we could end it here if people just want to go explore that, and I hope they will. I'll put a link to that below this video once I get it published. But yeah, what's your one tip for rocking the autumn years of your life? It could be a book you recommend, a motto that you have, something that we haven't said here yet before, or maybe something you want to reiterate.
Well, I think for me, the big theme and takeaway from this whole conversation has been the discernment factor. I've found now at this stage in my life that is huge, and it's obvious because it's come through in everything that we've talked about here in this conversation today. And I think I'm okay with that. I'm okay with making a choice and deciding whether I'm right or wrong. Doesn't really matter. It's all about clearing the clutter and just getting some clarity about who I want to be at this stage in the game. So discernment, that's mine.
I just, oh, that's so huge, 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 huge discernment. if I had to sum it up in one word, it would be unapologetic. And not in the way of being a rebel. Not in the way of being a rebel or bucking the system or anything like that, because I'd rather not buck the system. I'd rather just go create my own system. So being unapologetic is now where if I have something to say, sure, it's not going to come out pretty all the time. But I used to always say, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I'm so sorry." Oh, that part of me, it's so used up. And I feel that going forward into this beautiful autumn and winter and spring again and summer again, and the whole cycle over and over and over again, is this Suzanne-ness is unapologetic.
Suzanne, I love that. This is so funny that you say that. I was just talking to Joanna about that last week. Like, I was noticing all these different women that I admire, and the one thing that kept coming up was their unapologetic spirit. I mentioned that, and then it just keeps coming up. And so I'm gonna follow you on that one. Thanks for bringing it up. I love it.
Yeah, we've been talking to Dawn about gravitating toward these women that, or men too, for me, that are misunderstood. And I think, like, for those of us who feel like we've been misunderstood, the remedy is to be unapologetically misunderstood. Be like,
yes.
You don't get me, you don't get me, then you don't get it. And I'm totally okay with that. I have a special tip that's probably just going to resonate with some of you, but I think like attracts like. So I feel like some of you are watching because you're resonating with me on this. And that is that I've been working a lot with fear. And if you feel like you're a late bloomer, or if you feel like you have some dreams in your heart or some desires that you're not willing to go to your deathbed without having achieved, like you can't let them go. You're shedding, you're letting go, but there's this thing you just can't. You care about it too much. To really take an inventory, a fear inventory, and look within and ask yourself, what am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? And let your fear step forward and show itself to you. Because that's the first step to making it happen if you haven't made it happen by now. There's a reason, and I am willing to bet everything I have that the reason is you. And it's really not you. It's a little piece of you that probably was programmed into place when you were a little kid. And it's a little piece of your shadow that is standing in your light. So my tip for rocking the autumn years of your life, if you're a late bloomer, or if you just have another dream that you just have to give birth to, is to just really look at yourself and take a fear inventory that way. And I think we did it. We wrapped it up. If you want to do some journaling on this and find out what your own answers are for rocking the autumn years of your life, like I said, I'll put a link here down below. I'll also link to Suzanne and Lenora and Dawn if you haven't had the pleasure of checking out these women's work online. All of them are about helping you create the kick-ass life of your dreams, just like me, but in their own way. Suzanne has the Revive Tribe, and Dawn has the Goddess Diaries. And Lenora has the Lenora Aura, Psyche Circle, Camp Wildflower. So we've all got our own special spin and flavor on helping you rock whatever years of your life you find yourself in now. So I hope you'll check that out. And thank you, ladies, for joining me. And until we meet again, everybody, much love. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.